Hello guys, so today we're making really cool variations of Tomb Shader. So let's get on with it. So the first things I'm going to do is just delete the cube and the camera, not the light. So we have a space to work with. I'm just going to scale this plane and then add object. So maybe a cylinder and then maybe a sphere. Just add whatever. I'm just going to add whatever I see here so you can see how it works. So the first thing I'm going to do over here is add a bevel to everything, unless it's a sphere, and then you can shade its move now. So right over here we can scale the sphere and rotate it a little bit, and then shade its move. Okay. So now we get two objects. I think 3. It's always a good number. So I'm just going to go here and grab on the Z, rotate it on the X axis, and I'm just doing the scene so we can have something to work with. So I'm just going to put it right over here, Ctrl 2 for subdivision, and then the light I think is too high up, so I'm going to move it right over here. So now that we got those 3 objects, I think we should start to make the material, because that's what you're here for. So I'm just going to close these 2 windows and choose the object first, right? I'm going to choose the Suzanne. So before we start, make sure you're in easy with ambient occlusion and screen space reflections so we can get a little bit more detail on it. It's always good to have those 2 on. So now we're going to add a shader to RBG. This is going to make all the magic for us today. And then I'm going to go over here on the render viewer because it is actually better to see. And then link those materials. So it's Ctrl L for linking the materials. The next thing we need to do is actually make it look kind of toony to make a cell shader. So we need to add a color ramp and put it right over here. You can't see much of the difference, but it gets a little bit darker if you see it. But we still want to make this look better. So as you can see, we can mess around with the lights. And something to make that even better is add a constant shader. So now we can actually add different points of light, and then it will always be pointing to that direction. If you can't see your model really well, you can always add more colors. Those will help add more detail, so you can like put less white and then more black. So now you can actually see the model better. So this is the cell shader. This is the base tune shader that everybody likes to use. So I'm just going to put cell and then save this material. I'm going to save my project file too because it's always good to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do on the next material is actually create it. I don't know what I said at first. So I'm going to put cell 01 and then I'm going to link these materials again. And then this can be other thing that we will choose later. So now for this material, what you want to do is actually, I prefer to only use 2 colors on this one. And on the base color of the actual principal BSDF, we can actually add textures. So if we come over here, we can add Voronoi texture. So if we plug into the distance, it's already really cool. And something that I like to do for this one, you can keep the randomness. So the first thing I'm going to do is put the scale down. As you can see, it looks it's already have a different style. But then what we can do is actually put the randomness down. And this is a really cool effect for like if you're trying to do something like a graphic novel. Look at the shader, it just looks so good. And something that you can do is always mess with the scale if you want the smaller particles. I like to keep it medium. The detail, you don't really need to mess actually with the other ones. Just the randomness and the scale that actually make a difference. Really good difference. If you want to animate this, you can always change the W right here. And So the next thing you're going to do is the next shader. So the next shader, I'm just going to call this one dots, and then right over here I'm going to bring everything and just to make it closer together and duplicate this material again. So now I'm going to Ctrl L again for the materials. Always select the one that you want those to copy the materials from last. And let's go on with the next shader. So we can do kind of a painterly look now. So if we go here and add the noise texture, we can actually plug the factor or the color if you want on the base color, and you can see it already gives a really cool effect. Like when it's becoming the white, you can see like a little bit of waves. So you can always change this up and even make it look like fire. And if you don't want that much tone on yours, like that shaderly look, I don't know, you can always change back to linear. And then as you can see, we can even make those close together so it doesn't actually look that bad or that cell shader look. So as you can see, this already looks really good. I'm going to change it back to constant to get this one, this effect. You can change the detail to get more detail, like just the normal stuff. And you can even duplicate this and put in the vector, the factor on the vector. And as you can see, we get even more cool texture. Like it just looks so good. We can even make another one. Okay. Maybe we can even duplicate those again. So most of the things that I'm doing here is based out of textures. This is a really good way to make your tone shader. So I'm just going to bring this down here and onto the next one. So this one I'll call it paint because it looks like a paint. And then duplicate it. So again, oh wait, which one? So paint, okay. So link materials, and then the next one is going to be based out of a texture again, which we're going to use the wave texture. No, not a wave line, sorry. So texture, wave, where's the wave? So on the base color, as you can see, it really looks really good. But then you can see it already interacts with the light. And then we can even put a diagonal to make it different. So I'm just going to keep on the X, and then the scale, I'm going to bring it a little bit down like this. Distortion, you can bring it a little bit, but I don't like that much distortion. But okay, the thing that we need to do now is add a map range. So map range over here. So we can mess around with this value to make the white appear more. So as you can see, especially on this one, you can see that the line ends, and that's again a really good way to make your like comics, or I don't know what you're doing. So I like to keep it on diagonal, and as you can see, it interacts with the light like the other ones. So it's really cool to keep messing with this shaders, and you can keep adding different textures. There are lots of to choose from. Like some don't work, like the sky texture, the Musgrave texture is the same as the noise texture. But there is even the image texture that you can use, like a paint image, and use that for the shader to RBG. The shader to RBG is what is making all of this possible. And then there's the color ramp, which we can like make the shader to RBG actually work. So those two are the extra special ones, which are making everything possible, because the shader RBG makes this texture actually kind of interact with the light. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure to come back to my channel, and thank you for my patrons, and that you helped me a lot. So I will see you guys in the next video.